Did you know there was a plane so fast it could fly from New York to London in under 3 hours, while passengers sipped champagne and watched the curvature of the Earth? That plane was Concorde, the supersonic legend that left every other form of travel in the dust.
There at the end of the runway is Concorde 001 and Intoulouse. Let's join Raymond back.
But behind its glamour lies a story of intense rivalry, Cold War politics, and technological ambition. This is the untold story of Concorde versus the Soviet Tu-144. A joint venture between Britain and France in the early 1960s, Concorde was designed to shatter the boundaries of speed and style. It packed serious power. 4 Rolls-Royce Snegma Olympus engines enabled it to cruise at Mach 2.04, more than 1,350 miles per hour. That's faster than a rifle bullet. With a delta wing structure for stability and maneuverability at supersonic speeds, Concorde looked like something out of a futuristic sketchbook. Even its nose, which drooped during takeoff and landing, wasn't just for show. It improved pilot visibility. The Concorde made its maiden flight in 1969, and after rigorous testing, it entered commercial service in 1976. It was immediately a hit with the world's elite. CEOs, movie stars, and royalty all clamored for a seat on this airborne status symbol. With a ticket price equivalent to $12,000 today, flying the Concorde was about being part of an exclusive club. But what if I told you there was another supersonic jet? One that flew faster, carried more passengers, and debuted before Concorde. Meet the Tupolev Tu-144, the brainchild of Andrei Tupolev, one of the Soviet Union's best aircraft designers. Officially, the goal was to create a supersonic passenger jet that could rival, or ideally surpass, the Concorde. Unofficially, it was a matter of national pride. The Soviets needed to prove they could outdo the capitalist West. So, rushed to beat the Concorde, the Tu-144 took its maiden flight in December 1968, 2 months before Concorde's first flight. On paper, it looked impressive. The Tu-144 could reach speeds of Mach 2.15 and was the first commercial jet to break Mach 2. It also had a higher passenger capacity, theoretically seating up to 140 passengers compared to Concorde's 100. But here's where things started to go off course. Problems plagued the Tu-144's development. In their rush to be first, the Soviets overlooked crucial details. The aircraft's engines were notoriously unreliable, leading to frequent mechanical issues. Rumors suggest Soviet agents tried to steal Concorde's blueprints, earning the Tu-144 its sarcastic nickname Concordsky. One of the Tu-144's darkest moments came at the 1973 Paris Air Show. As the plane performed an ambitious maneuver to impress the crowd, it literally broke apart mid-air, killing all 6 crew members aboard and several people on the ground. The crash was a devastating blow to the Tu-144's reputation, but the Soviets pressed on. In 1975, the Tu-144 began limited service, but it was a far cry from Concorde's luxurious experience. The Tu-144 was noisy, uncomfortable, and lacking its Western counterpart's finesse. Passengers described it as more of a rattling rocket ride than a smooth supersonic journey. By 1978, the Tu-144 was retired from commercial service, having completed just 102 flights with passengers. If we compare the Concorde and the Tu-144 side by side, their rivalry wasn't just a clash of political ideologies, it was a battleground of engineering philosophies. The Concorde's slim, needle-like fuselage and delta-wing design gave it an air of sleek sophistication. Its droop nose was an aerodynamic marvel and a necessity, allowing pilots to see the runway during takeoff and landing. The Tu-144, on the other hand, looked bulkier, with a wider fuselage and additional retractable canards near its nose, small winglets designed to improve stability at lower speeds. While still functional, these features gave the Tu-144 a somewhat awkward appearance compared to Concorde's elegance. But beauty is only skin deep, right? So, let's compare the tech. Concorde's fly-by-wire system was innovative, utilizing electronic controls to improve precision and reduce pilot workload. In contrast, the Tu-144 relied on traditional manual controls. Passenger experience was another area where the two planes couldn't have been more different. Flying on Concorde was an experience reserved for the elite. With leather seats, gourmet meals, and an endless supply of champagne, Concorde delivered luxury at Mach 2. Meanwhile, the Tu-144 felt more like an experiment in high-speed travel than a refined product. It was noisy, cramped, and prone to vibration, making passengers feel every bit of the plane's raw power. In terms of performance, the Tu-144 had a slightly higher top speed, Mach 2.15 versus Concorde's Mach 2.04, but it was plagued by inefficiency. Its range was limited to about 3,000 miles, forcing it to make frequent stops, whereas Concorde could manage 4,500 miles non-stop. Despite their groundbreaking speed and ambitious designs, neither the Concorde nor the Tu-144 was able to sustain its promise of supersonic travel for the masses. For all their achievements, both planes faced insurmountable challenges, technical, environmental, and economic, that ultimately grounded their dreams. For the Concorde, noise was its Achilles heel. The sonic boom created when breaking the sound barrier was so disruptive that countries like the United States banned supersonic flights over land. This restriction meant Concorde was limited to transatlantic routes, primarily between Europe and the US. Fuel efficiency was another major issue. Concorde burned a huge 6,707 gallons of fuel per hour, making it one of the least eco-friendly aircraft ever built. Combine that with the oil crisis of the 1970s, and it became clear that Concorde's operating costs were unsustainable. Airlines charged exorbitant ticket prices just to break even, but even these weren't enough to keep profits soaring.
Concorde crashed in Paris, killing 113 people. In that time, British Airways has insisted its fleet of 7 planes is safe. Today, the company was forced to change its mind. The Civil Aviation Authority has said that from tomorrow it would suspend the plane's certificate of airworthiness. So what do we know now that we didn't know at least a week ago?
After the tragic crash of Air France Flight 4590 in 2000, which killed all 113 people on board, it seems like the end was near. And so, by 2003, Concorde was retired, marking the end of an era. Today, you can find the iconic jets in places like the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum and the Musée de l'Air et de l'Espace in Paris, preserved as symbols of a bygone era. As for the Tu-144, the Soviets pulled the plug entirely on it in 1978. It remains one of aviation's greatest failures. Supersonic travel was no longer seen as the future. It became a relic of the past. The Concorde Tu-144 rivalry taught us a lot about innovation, ambition, and the pitfalls of rushing progress. But the rivalry also exposed the harsh realities of aviation economics. Both aircraft pushed technological boundaries, but neither could overcome the crushing weight of operational costs, noise complaints, and environmental concerns. You can argue that the Concorde's exclusivity may have cemented its status as a luxury icon, but it also limited its market, while the Tu-144's flaws ensured it never reached its full potential. However, despite every failure, the dream of supersonic travel didn't end with Concorde's final flight. If anything, it planted a seed for the future. A future that's now taking shape. Today, a new generation of innovators is working to bring supersonic jets back to life, learning from the successes and failures of the past. Companies like Boom Supersonic are working on their flagship project, the Overture, which promises to fly at Mach 1.7, slower than Concorde, but far more efficient and environmentally friendly. Scheduled for its first passenger flights by 2030, the Overture aims to make supersonic travel accessible to a broader audience. Think of it as a supersonic comeback, but without the deafening sonic boom. Speaking of booms, NASA is tackling that issue head-on with the X-59 Quiet Supersonic Technology Project. This experimental plane is designed to significantly reduce the intensity of the sonic boom, making overland supersonic flights possible again. But of course, environmental concerns, especially regarding carbon emissions, loom large. Can these new projects balance speed with sustainability? And will passengers be willing to pay a premium for faster travel in a world increasingly focused on reducing its carbon footprint? The good news is the technology has come a long way since the 1970s. Advances in materials, science, aerodynamics, and engine efficiency are making supersonic jets more feasible than ever. Companies like Aviation Supersonic and Spike Aerospace are also entering the race, each with their own vision of a faster, quieter future. And that's a wrap. Though neither plane flies today, the Concorde and the Tu-144 remain etched in history as symbols of human ambition. They've been preserved not just in museums, but in the collective imagination, inspiring awe and nostalgia in equal measure. So what do you think? Will we ever see supersonic passenger jets make a comeback? And if they do, would you be first in line to fly one? Let us know your thoughts below. Before you go, don't forget to check out my recent video, The Science Behind Turbulence. Should you be scared? Keep flying high with us. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and be ready for more stories that defy the skies.